Okay, so I'll be discussing infantile chiropractic. Chiropractic care in general is an alternative medicine that deals with the adjustment of misalignments in the spine to release pressure and release muscle tension to stimulate the nervous system and promote overall health and well-being. Well, let's get into the controversy. In 2016, a doctor by the name of Ian Rossborough did one of these spinal adjustments on a 4-day-old premature born baby. The procedure itself produced such a loud crack that a lot of controversy and fear was stirred up in the medical community and in parents. A lot of the critics state that there are no proven benefits to chiropractic care, so there's no point in doing these procedures in the first place. Second, that chiropractic care is more of a placebo effect kind of medicine rather than actual real medical practice. And 3, there would be risk to the child's spine, especially because at that point in time it is so fragile and is not meant to be tampered with for any reason at all. And so the child could suffer from lifelong damages that could ruin their life, basically. So the question that everyone is asking in this controversy is chiropractic care safe for infants or not? And despite all the controversy and fear, the statement that I will be making is that yes, it is. Chiropractic care for infants, when done professionally, is safe. Reason being that 1, chiropractic care in general is a safe practice with sound methodology, and 2, there are very little risk in the very procedure of pediatric chiropractic or infantile chiropractic. I'll be using those terms synonymously, by the way. So, my first claim, chiropractic care in general is a safe practice with sound methodology. A brief overview of misconceptions and clarifications to follow. A lot of critics still seem to believe that chiropractors are claiming that the practice is an all cure that can cure anything from a common cold to cancer, but no, it has evolved far from that and is now what I like to call an acute holistic approach to health. Doctors aren't just going and cracking your bones for you and calling it a day. It is diagnostic based like any other medical field, and it takes into account the entire picture of your health and well-being and pinpoint specific problems in the system that is in relation to your spine and nervous system, and it fixes those problems, but it doesn't fix what doesn't need fixing. And they also take into account the entirety of your medical history and uses modern technology and diagnostic tools to further give an accurate diagnosis and alleviate the risk of treating a patient. So evidence to substantiate my original claim, or my original secondary claim, that chiropractic care is safe in general is chiropractor has one of the lowest malpractice rates. In 2017, a Washington State malpractice claims report showed that chiropractic care has substantially lower malpractice rates, especially in comparison to more traditional accepted Western medicine such as pediatrics and general family practitioners. So in light of this evidence and with a greater understanding of what chiropractic actually it is in general safe for people. And now moving on to my second point, there are very little risk in the very procedure of infantile chiropractic care. So the procedure itself is very gentle. Imagine the amount of applied pressure that you can tolerate on your eye. And imagine this being applied with just the tips of your fingers onto the spine of a young baby. That's all that's going on with the procedure, and there's very actually little force that can potentially ruin the child's spine and overall health. And also take into consideration that chiropractors encourage parents to be hands-on during the procedure to promote an environment of safety and to ensure the child. But let's get into the safety statistics, because there are facts to support this claim that there are very little risk in the procedure. The injury for infantile chiropractors is very rare. A study from 2015 led by Todd A.J. from Monash University's Department of Rural and Indigenous Health, researchers reviewed the medical literature for these cases up until March of 2014. And in these cases that covered chiropractic care and other manual therapeutic procedures, they found that cases of adverse events are significantly rare, especially with chiropractic care that had a total of 0 deaths in the entire reviewed literature. And another fact to throw at you guys, the low adversity rates, specifically with pediatrics, a 2009 study led by chiropractic specialist Jay Alcantara, he did a controlled experiment on a group of 816 babies, and of all these babies, only 5 were actually had adverse effects done onto their body, and that varies from like minor effects to very severe effects, and that's only of all the tests, that's only 0.6%. So even in light of these risks, 0.6, we'll use that one as a reference. Even in light of these benefits, chiropractic care warrants the use of it on infants for specific conditions to them. So chiropractic care is specifically used on children to treat birth trauma, misalignments in the spine that could inhibit growth and development, and also to treat symptoms of colic and reflux if and only if the conditions are in relation to the spine and nervous system. In 1989, a study published in the Journal of Manipulative Psychological Therapeutics, 73 chiropractors adjusted the spines of 316 infants with colic. The results show that 94% of these infants treated with spinal adjustments had significant results that overall improved their health. And though this study is old, since it is from 1989, a 1999 study compared these results with results that they received themselves from doing a similar experiment and found that the results were nearly identical. And so that suggests that though the facts found in this experiment are old, they can stand the test of time and are tested by other people. And in short summary, with these statistics and a deeper understanding of what actually goes on in the procedure, low adversity rates and such, chiropractic care is safe for children and specifically infants and is effective in what it tries to do. Thank you.
All right, Nia, well, you identified the topic at the beginning of the speech, which is fine. The proposition takes a while to get to. You kind of set up a background on the general controversy of chiropractic itself, and then you kind of get to the issue of the use of it in infant context. And I thought that was good. It did establish that there's some controversy going on here, plus the example that you have shows that people are reacting to these things, and so there's something that needs to be talked about here. There's a preview of the structure. It's interesting to me that the preview of the body of the speech has one fewer point in it than the whole explanation of what the controversy is. So I guess it's going to be a simpler argument. The first point is on the general nature of chiropractic itself. And I think that you probably could use a little bit more information to demonstrate that chiropractic is effective and that it produces results. Because basically your argument on this point is about safety, and the documentation of safety is the absence of malpractice suits in Washington State, which is not necessarily, I think that's a pretty good starting point for proving that particular point. But as a demonstration of the efficacy of chiropractic, I don't think it's the same. You kind of dismiss the mythology and the things that people think chiropractic is, and I thought that was an appropriate thing to do, but I'm still waiting for some information that shows that it makes a difference in anything other than maybe, a back injury or something along those lines. As it is, I thought that was a little bit underwhelming. There is, however, some evidence on the effectiveness of it in infants when you go later on and you're talking about some of those studies that you use on the second point. The second point's clearly identified when you get to it, and there's where we start getting some more substantive evidence that talks about these issues. You've got 3 different studies that cite information on the specifics of this kind of activity behavior that it makes an impact on it, and I thought that was a pretty effective way of conveying this information. The fact that 2 of the studies are old in the process. You do a nice job defending the studies despite the fact that they're relatively old, because they had consistent results and there's an absence of any reason to believe something is different. I think that makes a little bit of sense there. And it's all presented pretty effectively. I think you do a good job speaking to the audience as well. So I think there's some weakness on the proof on the first point. Better information on the second point. You defend that information as it's being presented, and it's generally nicely delivered. Thank you.